everybody, and welcome to this very, very, very special one night only interview. It's a conversation with the makers, the creators of Mostly Music, The Journey of the Chorus of Westerly, the new documentary that is all about the chorus. And so I'm really excited tonight. I'm going to be joined by the director of the film, Caswell Cook, the videographer of the film, the editor, Chris Walsh Productions, and Chorus of Westerly executive director Ryan Saunders, and music director Andrew Howell. And now I just feel like it's a fitting thing to start this show the way that Ryan has made me start everything that I've ever done for the Chorus of Westerly. Ladies and gentlemen, grab your kids, parents, grandparents, and pets around the internet, and please enjoy whatever this is. Ryan, hey man.
Hey man, welcome to the internet. It's a great new world.
Are you excited?
Oh, I'm pumped. I'm excited. It's so nice to actually have an event where people are coming and we have, an actual audience. I mean, virtual is great too, and we'll do lots of that, but we're really excited, and we're really excited to show this film, especially because we started filming it, 5 or so years ago, and it's nice to see my hair when it was browner than it is right now. So I'm very excited.
I get it, man. I've been doing these live streams like 30 times a week for the last 5 months, and I just am watching my hair get grayer and grayer on my temples. Anyway, enough of that. Let's bring on your partner in crime, the second ever music director for the Chorus of Westerly, Andrew Howell. Hey, Andrew.
Hello. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you. I can't wait to. We have a lot of stuff to get into. Are you excited for the film?
Very excited. As Ryan said, we've been working on this thing for quite some time, and to finally be able to actually share it with the world is tremendously exciting.
That's awesome. I'm really excited. Spoiler alert! I saw it this morning, and I had to for these reasons. All right, let's bring on the creative team behind the film. Here is director Caswell Cook and Chris. What do you editor, cinematographer? All of the above. Chris Walsh Productions. Hey, everybody.
I'll take it.
Awesome. So how did this thing get started? Why was there a documentary? Who approached you? Caswell, Ryan? Who decided there needs to be a documentary of the chorus?
Kaz, you want to answer this? Because I believe you had something to do with it.
Well, I had done a documentary with Chris about 10 years ago on a group called Chad and Jeremy, a British group from the 60s, rock group. And we went through a lot of troubles and turmoil to get it done. But then we did it, and it was complete. And I said, all right, what's the next adventure? And I always had wanted to tell the story of the Chorus of Westerly. And I talked to Ryan and Andrew and said, look, this is how I'd like to do it. And, we just started rolling, not tape, but we started rolling film, and we followed the chorus for about a year through its creative process, from a camp up in New Hampshire where the kids start practicing in August, taking it through the whole chorus season, through the classical concerts at the time, 12th night, the final 12th night concert, through to Summer Pops. And then we did that, and then we said, all right, well, now we want to talk to some kids. So we put some kids together and talked to them about their experience. And then we wanted to delve into the history and the transition between George Kent to Andrew Howell. So that's how it kind of came together, and we just started doing it. And then we worked on it for a couple of years, got it ready, and then we ran into all kinds of issues with rights to music and stuff, which somehow miraculously Ryan Saunders untangled and raised an exorbitant amount of money to make this thing possible. I don't know how he did it, and I'm actually still not going to believe it until Sunday night at 8:57 when this thing has finished playing.
Absolutely. So before we get into all of that, let's take our first look at the documentary, and here's the chorus in their own words, Ryan, Andrew, and Mr. Kent.
The Chorus of Westerly produces in a small town in Rhode Island what organizations in Boston and New York and other large cities have a lot of trouble doing.
It's one of the most unique intergenerational community organizations, I think, in the entire country. And not just because of the music. It is a musical organization because it's a community chorus, but it is an organization that has touched the lives of thousands of families in a small New England town for 57 years.
I basically believe that we all ought to pay attention to our 5 basic senses, which we all know: touch, taste, smell, hearing, sight. And I think if we as human beings make great use of those senses and implement them, that we're going to stand to live a fuller life.
Yeah, so I love that sentiment that, and so as it said, George Kent, the founding music director, the founder of the Chorus of Westerly, from 1959 to 2012, which is such an incredible span of time. Can you guys just talk a little bit about how the chorus started and how it's evolved since 1959?
I guess I'll take that one. So, I mean, the chorus started, we just heard it started in 1959, and a very, very young George Kent, who was in his early 20s at the time and was a graduate student at the New England Conservatory of Music, had just finished up his degree at the University of Rhode Island, and the organist and choir master at Christ Church. Really, he's always been a visionary kind of human being and had a lot of visionary people around him. And really, he thought kids could go out, kids in particular, could go out there and do music that was beyond just Sunday service, which is really the only place besides public school where kids were getting music back in the late 50s and early 60s. And so they came together, and the Christ Church choir really was sort of the genesis of it over at Christ Church. And they put a bulletin out, I think actually on September 21st of 1959 or thereabouts, inviting any other area choirs to come to Christ Church at 8:30 after their regular choir practice on Thursday. The Christ Church choir still rehearses on Thursday nights, and see who would show up. And they had people coming in from the Baptist churches and the Catholic churches and just from the general community. And they pulled together a concert choir, just a little, somewhere around 100. They did the Denning Te Deum, and it worked. And then boom, here we go, 61 years later.
That's incredible. And when did you, Chris? I know everybody else has. Were you? I know you grew up in Westerly. Were you a member of the chorus as well?
I wasn't, and I probably out of everybody.
Hey, Chris, for shame.
No, hey, and it was.
It's not too late.
It's not too late. Well, after seeing everything that I saw over the last 5 to 10 years, I'm thinking about getting my kids into it because it is pretty special. This was one of the funnest projects I've worked on ever in my life. And to be around all the talent that I've been around with Andrew, Mr. Kent, Ryan, Caswell, he was in it when he was young. So he told me a lot about what was going on with the Chorus of Westerly years ago and the camp that they used to go to, Camp Ogon. So it's pretty remarkable. So I was really proud to be part of this whole production. From the start. It was just incredible to be part of it.
Yeah. Let's talk about that because it's summer and this is probably the first summer in forever that the chorus isn't at Camp Ogon's. Can you guys talk a little bit about what that place is and why it's so special? Well, actually, before you do that, let's take a look so that everybody can see for themselves a little bit about what makes Camp Ogon so special.
I joined the chorus of Westerly in 1995, so my first experience with the chorus was coming to camp, which at this point I'm convinced was really the selling point for me, and I think it is for a lot of the kids who join the chorus. The camp experience gives them the opportunity to get to know each other in a way that they just don't get in the rest of the year. They spend an entire week together. It's an intense bonding experience for all of them to be able to get to know each other and play games and really become the team that is the chorus of Westerly.
I knew that camp was a great incentive for the kids. It also, besides the camp activities, musically, we could get a good head start on the following year.
Now, I know that even though the chorus isn't officially there, I know that a lot of chorus members have found their way up for vacation this summer. So what is so special about Camp Ogons? And you guys go into it, everybody goes into it in wonderful detail in the film, but could you guys just give us a little cliff notes about what makes Ogons so special to you?
I think Andrew should go that one. That way? This way?
Yeah.
Over here, yeah, me. So as the charming, attractive young man in that video said, for the kids in general, getting to spend that week together up there in intense community and really just spending 24 hours a day with each other doing, everything from eating and playing and making music is what makes it really special. And to go up as an 8 or 9-year-old, usually relatively afraid to be away from their parents for the first time, and then to be kind of put into what is a new family for the week and a new community, and the older children take care of the younger kids, and there's this wonderful feeling of being a part of something immediately that you're kind of thrown into suddenly 4.5 hours away from your family. And it has a way of kind of seeping into your soul, and you can never really get it out of you. So the place Ogons is a beautiful camp up in New Hampshire that is owned by Lynn and George Kent, and has a tremendous history. But I think a lot of it is the fact that we create what we do in that space. And so all of it put together makes it into something, that people consider a second home.
Yeah. And so why was it I know that Andrew, I believe you went up as well. I know Caswell, you did. Yeah. And one of my best friends, who's a former chorus member, wanted to get away for the weekend, and immediately I was like, he said he was going up north. I was like, there's no way he's not going to Ogons, and sure enough, he did. How does it feel not being there this summer, and how was it to be there without the chorus?
I mean, it was lovely to get up there and to see the place and to know that it was still the beautiful camp that it always is, and we got to do a lot of social distancing and delicious food and get on the lake and actually do the things that we typically don't get to do. At least I don't get to do because I'm usually busy running a camp at the time. But it was very sad to not have everybody else up there, to go up and realize that we weren't going to get to bring 60 plus kids up there, and to lose this opportunity this year, which is really, I mean, of all of the things that we had to give up at the end of our season, to have to lose camp was definitely the hardest. And it's the hardest thing for the entire season ahead of us, I think. We set ourselves up for tremendous success when we bring those kids up there, when they get to spend time together, when they get to know each other, when they get to intensely work on the very first steps of the music making of the season. And even though the rest of this year is looking pretty rough at this point anyway, and we don't know what's going to happen, to have lost that is a big, unfortunate misstep.
Yeah.
When I went last week with my wife because I heard Andrew went, and I said, "You can go," and so we went and brought my wife, who had never been. I've talked about this place. I've gone there on and off since 1982, and we actually went to my original cabin and showed my wife where I put my name up on the wall, as these other two guys have done over the years too. But it was weird because it was nice. Mrs. Kent was there. We sat and had dinner, but it was a strange thing. And one of the nights that I was there, I was sitting down at this boathouse that overlooks the lake. It's such a beautiful place that Andrew and Ryan know, and I felt this heaviness, or this sense of history, and I was starting to think about this film. And my wife said, this is one of the reasons that you made the film, is all these people you're thinking about right now. And I was thinking about people like Peter Kashulik and Ann Utter and Nora Spence and Don Friend, and these names of people that mean so much to us, and that were all at that camp. And it's like I almost felt like I don't want to get creepy, but it was like their ghosts were there or something. It was I shook it off after a few minutes, but it was very weighty for me to be up there without the music playing and without the Alphorns horning or whatever it is. But it gave me time to reflect and to realize that this time, with this weird COVID thing we're in, that it's all the more important to show this film and to give us a little hope in a time of weirdness that we're in right now. I mean, we've dealt with all these things in the past, like down here at the beach. I'm at the drive-in tonight. As you can see, I'm in the tourist shack. But, it's like we're finally able to do something public that's somewhat safe, being at a drive-in. And so all the things that have been canceled, which are so sad, there's a happiness that we get to show something in person, like Ryan says. In fact, Ryan sent out one of his emails last night that's like 18 pages long, and he said, haven't you missed these? And we have, Ryan.
Thank you. Thank you. I missed writing them. I mean, they're talking about this too. So Ben, I haven't had a chance to go up this summer, and I don't think I will. And I to be quite frank with you, I've struggled about even thinking about going up there, because to me, I almost feel like I don't know if I could do it without having that chance to be with the chorus. I've been to Ogons plenty of times outside of our camp week, but it's just like it's hard for me to get around that. But I have been up there. But I've been on that property and some week in August every year of my life since I was 7 years old.
Right.
And I'm 41. So it's been a long time, in all different roles too, much like Andrew and Caswell, going from a kid to a teenager to a volunteer to eventually a staff member. And it's a very strange thing. But what I think is great is that, the thing is that Caswell's talking about sort of the ghost, if you will, about that. I mean, that kind of speaks to the organizational legacy that we have and what we're trying to capture with this film. It's interesting, the ethic of the chorus, see a project from beginning to end, which we really put on the kids and all the adults. Do something that someone else thinks that you can't do, presenting this great music in a community that's not a city, without the resources of a city. That's been there since the beginning, when George and Ann was there too, all of these folks at the very beginning, this thought like, well, why can't we do this? Why can't the chorus go on tour to England? Why can't the chorus have a summer pops concert? Why can't there's always, and no one has ever said, we just can't do that. There's sometimes it's been, we can't do it yet. And I kind of feel like that's been the thing with the documentary. So we were talking at the beginning, like, where is the idea? It's like for years and years and years, everyone wanted to see something of the chorus on film. But the technology was so complex early on, and the cost for that made it hard. So that didn't happen in the 80s and 90s. But eventually, and not to saying Chris and Caswell's work is easy at all, but actually what brought the film to fruition, which sort of convinced me of it, is Caswell convinced me to have Chris come in and shoot some of 12th Night the year before we started filming, to see what it would look like, which is what I ended up taking to the board of directors to say, we can do this now. And then Andrew and I talked it up, and it came to be. But if the story that the film tells is sort of that generational story, that there's been one generation to the next, which passes this goodness and this work ethic through music on and on and on. And camp is the genesis of all that for all of us that have been involved. So it really, Caswell does a really nice job capturing kind of how that story all develops. But the film is timeless. I mean, we shot it 5 years ago, but quite frankly, this is a story that has been existing for every decade. We just now finally have the resources and the product in which to show everyone.
Speaking of the generations, there's a beautiful part in the film where Andrew, you get sort of sentimental, and you talk about, seeing your kids and knowing that they're gonna sing in the chorus, and that they're the fourth generation in your wife's family, on your wife's side, to be in the chorus. And there's also a family in the documentary where we see all three generations of a family together and talking about the chorus. So can you just talk a little bit about what that feels like? I mean, that's insane. Like no organization gets that.
That is definitely one of the things that makes the Chorus of Westerly so very special, is that we have children and adults working together on the same incredible product and making this happen, so that you have those 8 and 80-year-olds on the same risers together, which allows families to sing together from, when they first start to be able to read until they can't sing at all anymore. And it allows the entire lifespan to be together, which is an incredible thing. For me personally, I was an import. A friend of mine was singing in the chorus and said, "Hey, you should join." I didn't really want to. My mom convinced me to. I was 12 and really didn't have much interest at the time. But I went to camp and tried it out, and the rest is history. But it was just me and my mom, and it became a family to me. So there are families that are singing together, but on the other side of it, there's also the fact that it is a family in and of itself. And so people who are coming in on their own don't have to have the blood connections. They get the spiritual, musical connections with the other people that they're creating this art with. It's so much more than just singing.
Yeah,
it's an odd situation that, I mean, my dad sang for George Kent in the 50s at Christ Church, the year he took over, believe it or not, in 56. And I didn't know that about my dad until years later. I was like, why do you go to that choir reunion every year after the Christmas service? He's like, well, I sang. Come to find out, he was asked to leave by Mr. Kent after about a year and a half. So I suppose when I joined the choir and the chorus in 1982, Mr. Kent was probably like, oh, here we go again. But then now my kids, Maddie and Leah, sing for Andrew. And it was a really cool experience. And for a very brief time, I was able to sing under Andrew until I had to go get reelected again. And he has rehearsals the night of the town council. But it was cool to sing these pieces and see my kids down, on the below me down there. It was just such a cool thing. I'm like, oh my God. So it is this thing. But to Andrew's point, I was an only child too. And so the chorus to me, growing up, a lot of the friendships, I mean, I still have these friendships with these people 30 or whatever, 40, almost 40 years later. So it's a weird thing. So it doesn't matter where you come from, whether you come from, a huge lineage or from the island of misfit toys like me, you still can fit in the chorus.
Or Pawcatuck. Come on.
That's a beautiful sentiment, and I know that Ryan, when we were doing the podcast a few years ago, we talked a lot about had the 200 voice chorus of Westerly and the only community chorus in the country that has all ages and kids starting at age 8, and how important that was. It's such a crux, and I know that we've been talking about it for a few minutes, and we have a clip from the documentary about why the children are such an important part of the chorus. So let's take a look at that right now.
Okay. So in measure 71, that's your big moment, tenors. When you get off of that, you'll want to probably breathe somewhere before that moment to get in there so that we can then get right through that. Otherwise, we're a little bit behind, and you're in parallel with the soprano, so it's very important that we're right together on that. I think the chorus ultimately boils down to the children. The fact that we include them in the things that we do, the fact that they are singing the musical masterworks along with the adults.
Yeah, it's hard to understand why George Kent would have 8-year-olds singing alongside 80-year-olds when he was putting this all together. He had the Christ Episcopal Church choir, which was really based on an Anglican model and had kids singing service music along with adults anyway. And he himself had been, I think, a bit fascinated with how the big English cathedral and abbey choirs worked, where you had trebles, sopranos singing alongside of the adults in particular. And I think he looked at what they were capable of doing, at least with church service music, and said, well, if they can sing some beautiful Palestrina motet, why can't they sing the Bach B minor Mass?
The truth of the matter is, children singing, they learn not only singing, but they learn to see a job from start to finish and accomplish that. And that's a big plus for kids to learn. If they happen to be singing in a church choir, they get that challenge once a week. In the chorus, they get it in a big sense 4 or 5 times a year.
Good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Smart people.
What's that?
I said smart people.
I agree. So let's talk a little bit about the transition. Andrew, you and my train of thought on this is the children, because when I see that clip, I selfishly see a lot of my kids from theater over the years, and I got the opportunity to tell Andrew this semi-recently, months ago, that the reason there is now a community children's theater in Westerly that teaches kids about theater is because of the chorus of Westerly. With the transition year, Andrew's first year, you guys did a concert, an Americana concert or something, I believe, where you had a piece commissioned for Mr. Kent, and I saw it was the first chorus of Westerly show that I had ever gone to, and you gave a speech, and it was beautiful, and the whole thing got me thinking about legacy and the children. And people had asked me to start a children's theater for 10 years, and I never wanted to do it. And seeing the love that all of those kids had for what was happening, and the love that Andrew had for what had come before, inspired me to make sure that happened as well for all of those theater kids, and to do the same thing with the legacy that was happening at Westerly High School for 30 years. So I just want to say thank you for, this documentary is not the first time that you guys have been public and vocal about the legacy of the chorus, about how important the kids are for the chorus, how important Mr. Kent was for the chorus, and all of that stuff. So I just want to personally say thank you, because the amount of good that you put out into the community affected the amount of good that other people have put out into the community, especially for the children. And I no longer run that organization. It's taken by Mr. DeAngelis's daughter Antonella, and she's doing a wonderful job with that. But the children in the community of Westerly, thanks to the chorus of Westerly, have such a rich and fulfilling opportunity with stuff like that, and stuff like what you guys are doing, and the band room, and so on and so forth. Like, this town is so much the better for all of the hard work that you guys have done on behalf of the children for 61 years. So thank you very much for that. Andrew, filling the shoes of a legend. How was that? And I found out recently that no one knew that Mr. Kent was going to retire. Is that true?
First of all, thank you for that beautiful story. That is really inspiring and wonderful. And I know you did tell me that before, but it should be shared as well. That there's so much being passed along between arts organizations in this incredible place that we get to create our art. I was going to say live, but Ryan is like an hour away. So yeah, true. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, obviously having grown up in the chorus and revered George Kent, and basically wanted to emulate him from the moment I first got up to Ogons and got into all this stuff, I had always kind of dreamed that someday I might be able to direct the chorus, but I had no idea when that would be, and if it would ever be possible at all. And so to be in this position now is something that I still, I put a lot of weight on myself to continue on in the way that he taught and the way that he set everything up for us and set us on the right path, and to be able to pass along to other children the same thing that I got as a child is probably the most important part of it for me. I mean, the music obviously is what we're working towards, but it is everything that gets to that final performance and everything that you get through that process that is tangential to the music that is really what's so incredibly important about what we do and how we affect people's lives on a deeper level.
I always feel, because I know Andrew gets asked that question all the time. He did yesterday on the radio 8 years ago.
Every interview.
He kind of reminds me of Julian Lennon, who, like, the first question in every interview was, "So your dad was John Lennon, right?" It's kind of like that thing. And one of the Beatles getting back together, Julian. But I was on the board when the transition was taking place, and so I remember the finalists, and Ryan will remember too. He was obviously part of that decision, and there was, I don't know, it was like 3 people that came, and they spent a weekend with the chorus. And so we were sitting there, Mr. Kent was sitting there, and he took like pages of notes. And so we got to the meeting, and I said, everybody's talking, what do you think of this, and I looked at him and I said, well, what do you think? And everybody turns to him, and he goes, well, the chorus needs to go this way, not this way. And I'm like, that's it? All those pages of notes? That's what you got for me? But so I'll tell you what
he was just doodling. He was doodling.
He was so bored. But so these other 2 people or 3 people, whatever it was, they would get in front of the chorus, and I was sitting and I'd watch them, from the audience, and they would conduct. And there was a lady that came. She was great. I don't even know who these people were. And they all had a style and a thing. And I'm like, yeah, I can see the chorus going that way. Okay, well, this guy, And then Andrew sat down at the piano, and he went, "Mihi waha mi," which is the warm-up that Mr. Kent always starts with. And everyone was just like, yeah, there you go. And so it's this mixture of keeping that tradition alive because he lived it, and yet making it his own. And so, I mean, obviously, Andrew's style and George Kent's style are completely different. The way they get the same excellence out of the people come from 2 different places. But the bottom line is that the proof is in the pudding. Here we are 8 years later, and that chorus sounds as good or better than it's ever sounded before. And I think I wanted the film to tell that story, that the chorus is in safe and secure hands, and the legacy is in safe and secure hands, through any transition. I mean, a lot of these things could be cult of personality, and they could fizzle when the personality's gone. And this has proven that that didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the long-term thought for me personally, besides the day-to-day, year-to-year of making music and changing lives and all that good stuff, is if I can successfully at the end of this hand off the baton to the next music director and have the organization be in a stronger position and know that they're going to continue on no matter who takes the helm, and that we are strong enough at our core that the music director is less important than the organization itself.
Yeah, but Andrew, you got 49 more years, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, right.
So talking about building up and doing new things and expanding the things that you've done. One of the things that you guys did multiple times in the previous 50 whatever years it was under Mr. Kent was the tours. And I know that you brought that back in 2014, starting in 2014, I believe. And so how was that? And I know that also part of that was making decisions of all of these things take a lot of effort, take a lot of money, take a lot of fundraising. The Pops every year is an unbelievable effort. And I think that people don't understand all the time what goes into all of these events that you guys do, because the Pop seems like a great free concert in the park, and you just throw up a stage and it's there and whatever. And the general public, the 100,000 people or 25,000 people, 100,000 people over years, 25,000 people a year that come see that, probably don't realize that it costs $100,000 to put that on, and you have to pay for fireworks, and you have to pay for orchestra, and you have to build the state, so can you talk a little bit about the tours, and then we're going to talk about for a minute the thing that had to go in hiatus for a little while. But before we do
we're
that,
not afraid of any topic.
All right, before we do that, let's talk about the tours though, because I don't have a clip of them, and I really want to talk about that.
Yeah, so we it's a great putting on there. So the chorus, so we've in Andrew's tenure, which started in 2012, we've undertaken 2 international tours in the span of 3 years. Which, looking back, I can't kind of believe we swung that. And each one of them had more than 200 people participating in some form on it. And the chorus toured in the 80s, and 81 was in England for 2.5 weeks on a really whirlwind tour around England, and then up to St. Giles and Edinburgh. Went to Italy on an incredible tour, 3 weeks in 1987, which I keep asking everybody who was on that tour, how did you pull this off? Because I can't fathom it. But it was also, the 1980s were a different time, so I have to keep reminding that. And Pam Young likes to tell me, youth, Ryan, youth. And then back to England in 95. But then we had a 19-year break. And one of the reasons that we stopped touring had nothing to do with a desire not to tour, but one of the focuses in the late 90s for the chorus was we had just acquired the George Kent Performance Hall officially as our own building. The chorus had purchased it in the 60s, then set up the Center for the Arts. That, when it was its own organization, it failed, and then the chorus bought the building again. And a lot of funding and organization went into actually just saving the building and getting the additional wing put on. But also in the early 2000s, our whole world changed. Particularly after September 11th, the economics changed, audiences for the arts changed, finances for the chorus got really, really difficult. And it was not, when you're talking about where should funds go, touring at home, it was hard to decide that. But kind of Andrew got hired in 2012, and we happened to be out at a conference in Minneapolis. And for about 3 or 4 times prior to Andrew being hired, we had been working with our management company that ended up becoming that for tours, ACFEA, and had them draw up 3 or 4 different tours that we never took. Just kind of like, tell us what you can do. And we get kind of there and be like, too expensive, and we move along. But we just couldn't, it didn't make sense then. So we went up to their owner of the company who had that. We had read all these tours. So like, oh, there's some interesting things we should just talk about. And we walked up to the desk to see him, and we say, hi, I'm Ryan Saunders. This is Andrew Howell, our new music director come July. And he goes, oh, I know who you are, in a proper British accent. He goes, forgive me for not popping the champagne right now, just because we had kind of brought them to the altar a few too many times. But anyway, we said, well, we want to talk to you about this, and we're not sure if we can swing it. But we think it might be time to tour again. And we have no idea how we might be able to start this again. So can we start to have a dialogue about costs and how these things can work? And I remember they said, yeah, fine. They got us in touch with an unbelievable representative of the company named Amanda Bauman, who helped us, talked us through, asked us questions, and another guy named Nick Abbott. And we just said, yeah, this is how we want to do it, but differently than before. Just send us something. And we were at Ogon's at Choir Camp. I said to Andrew about a price and a structure. I was like, well, if it comes in at this, we can definitely do it. And if it comes in over, we just nicely say thank you when we put it on the shelf. And we've tried, and it came in far under what we expected. So I remember saying, and the chorus at this time, I should be honest with everybody, was in kind of difficult financial shape. But one of the things we had been talking about was to get the chorus back on the map again, and to get donors re-engaged and membership really going. We need to take a risk and take a big splash. So let's put this out there to the singers and see who wants to participate. And lo and behold, at the end of all that, we had 228 people going to Europe with us. I mean, it worked out, and we got to Smetana Hall, and we got to the Stephansdom in Vienna and Budapest. And then 3 years later, we got to go sing in Bach, the Bach B minor mass, and the St. Thomas Church in Leipzig, which is one of Bach's primary churches, and where he's allegedly buried at the altar. They say allegedly because no one really knows, but it's his church.
There's some bones there.
His bones are there, so we got to do it again. And the other thing is, we haven't really talked about it publicly, but the actual plan was for the chorus to go to France in 2021. And though the planning for that was very far down the road, to the point where the venues and the orchestras and everything like that were secured. But we've delayed that now to 2022 because we just want to buy ourselves some more time here. We think it's not going to happen. So in 2021, but in 2020, right. Much better shot.
So the stuff that's in the film of the tours, Chris and Caswell, did you guys go with them to Europe for one of the tours for the documentary? And if not, can we make that happen in 2022, guys?
Well,
I got a lot of cell phone footage that we ended up having to use. Unfortunately, I wanted to go.
Hey, that was good cell phone footage. This is a prime piece.
Can I tell you?
That cameraman worked cheap.
Well, listen, I've already told. Now that we pulled this thing off, when the tour happens to France, man, I'm going. But listen, the thing about this is that we were lucky that we, live as we do now, and that Ryan had cell phone footage, because when we started talking about the first tour in 1981, there was no footage. There was pictures. They were very nice. And what Chris would always say to me, and this is what makes this documentary great, it's the way Chris put it together. He puts everything together with the music first. A lot of things you'll see, they slap the music on after. Chris starts with the music, and every single edit is to the beat of the music because he's a DJ.
Yeah.
And so he would be like, okay, well, they're telling this story, but and because Chris didn't grow up in the courts, like, what the hell is that? Like, you need visual evidence. And so we had to dig and dig. So we get this great story where Deb Dunham's talking about Mr. Kent cooking lamb chops on like a mountainside somewhere on a grill that's this big for 200 people to get a lamb chop, and I'm like, well, the story's funny, but didn't we find the pictures of the charcoal grill, of them standing there? And that makes the story, more visual. So what Chris is, one of his roles in this thing is that he kept saying, I need to see it. And where are you getting this? What is the footage? Where's the this? Where's the that? And that forced me to keep going back to Ryan saying, what else we got? Like, what's in these boxes? And we would spend days in boxes, looking for stuff.
It was fun. It was fun. And it was kind of interesting to see people like Deb Dunham. You see her now, and then you see her when she was, 13, 14? I don't even know how old she was, but
younger than that, I think. Adorable.
We have a video of her at 9. Yeah. 8 or 9.
Yeah, it was incredible. And we had the amazing film footage that we ended up being able to use from Oren Jacoby, right, Caswell, and had Deb when she was so young, and we went from one clip of her today to a clip with black and white when she was, I don't know, how old would you say she was there?
She probably was 8 or 9. I think it was in
really that young.
It was in one of the first seasons. Yeah, that was the Bach B minor mass. With that,
I was blown away by seeing these old pictures. Even you guys, Ryan and Andrew, when they were little tykes, a lot of the photos that we had, we ended up using in the film, and it was just amazing to see how long this has been going on, and it really hasn't changed that much. What you guys do, has it really when it comes to the camp and everything?
I mean, again, going back to what Ryan said earlier, that's part of the impressive thing about it. It's like, in a way, we kind of came out of the cathedral choral tradition of England, and part of the thing that's so impressive about that is it literally is just the passing.
Have you ever used sorry.
Live TV.
The passing of a torch from year to year and from generation to generation. And as with this video, that is in our world, because we know who the people are, kind of a time capsule, it is still at the same time timeless, because it is continuing on in much of the same thing that we've always striven for.
Yeah, I think the word is evolving. The chorus keeps evolving, but when you evolve, you make yourself better from what was there before, and you might change here and change there. I mean, if you go to a week at camp now, it won't look identical to a week at camp in 1966, but the good in a lot of ways. But in the ways of the kids, the adults, the camaraderie, the music making. That changes. And even the chorus, the chorus has evolved musically as an organization too. We have a wonderful history and a wonderful past. And I think one of the things that Andrew Works has done so well on is taking the core that George, Ken, and all of the founders and all the singers who've done this for years really built up. Because as George says in the film, and will say too, we've all had a lot of help in making this happen. It's not just him, me, Andrew, it's all of us. But we take that core and it's like build upon the core, make it better, make it better, make it better. And not necessarily bigger, just it's all for us about impact. Can we keep having more and more impact to the people in the community? And if we have to shift with the community, we certainly will. So but that is part of the timelessness of it all. It really is something. Andrew said it before, and I want to reiterate it. Nothing would make me prouder than the day that I'm not executive director, that whomever comes after me turning over the keys to this thing in a better place and making sure it's going on and on and on, because it's, we really are a chorus that has had two visionary artistic directors in George and in Andrew. But what makes us really go are those 23, 2,400, 2,500, whatever the number is these days, Pam can tell me later, all of those people who have gone through the ranks. Because not only do they sing every week, the amount of volunteerism that this chorus does to make these events happen very quietly behind the scenes, and Caswell's one of them, it's astounding. And we never would be able to pull it off without all of them. So it's just a really, really special project. And I think Andrew says that at the end of the film, not to give away the ending, but our hope is that it's not just to show off what we've done, it's to show other people like this sort of thing is possible. There's a line in our lobby that says, "We the endlessly dared," it's a Rilke line, "We the endlessly dared, how far we have come." Well, everyone should be able to do stuff like this, and we want to show them that you can do it too.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Caswell, I'm going to unmute you. Hopefully the things at the drive-in are less of a ruckus.
People are here early for Sunday
That's
night
great.
showing.
That's awesome. So speaking of theaters, drive-in theaters, bad transition. Now we're gonna take a look at something that I have heard about my entire life, and never got to see. So I personally hope that you guys do it again soon. Here is a clip from the movie about Twelfth Night.
If anything, it was artistically glorious because of spectacle. I mean, there was always something wild happening every year, and it was a can't miss kind of event.
As with everything the chorus does, we do it big or we don't do it at all. So Twelfth Night is a really just jam-packed weekend.
And it was an incredibly successful event where not just large audience numbers came to it, large amounts of community members outside of just singers in the chorus got a chance to be in the play and to be a part of it. I mean, you're talking a cast of 100 or so every year.
It's still a successful show, and at some point it would be nice to do another type of Twelfth Night again, or to bring Twelfth Night back the way it was.
It was logical to say, okay, now is the time to take a little break from this and to see what our world is like without Twelfth Night.
I want everyone to know that behind the scenes, Ryan and Andrew immediately put their hands up in the air. Guys, I have heard about Twelfth Night my entire life, and I never saw it. In the film, George says it's not a Broadway musical, it's not an opera, it's something. It's not a concert, it's something in between all of them. What is Twelfth Night?
Yeah.
It's certainly a thing.
As Mr. Ken says in the thing, he goes, "It's Twelfth Night."
It's Twelfth Night. I think I said it's like if an opera crashes into a circus that crashed into a Christmas pageant.
Yes.
You did say that. I do remember that.
It is and still is a representation of all of the lively arts form in one show. It's dance, it's drama, it's music, it's the Morrismen. You can define art any way you want, folks. It's bagpipers, it's jesters, it's good versus evil, it's children, it's adults. It was a real way to harness the artistic talents of so many people. And as someone I think just wrote on the wall, it was one of a kind. It really was one of a kind. I mean, the idea for the show originally came out of productions of the show Revels, which still runs at Sanders Theater in Cambridge, the Christmas Revels. They had done a run out in Westerly. And then I think George and Anne started talking about how can we do something like that. And George says in the film, he had heard about a lot of these traditions in one of his classes. And, as the chorus did back then, as they were evolving, they were a very young organization. They brought together, the very first one, I think they did part 4 of the Christmas Oratorio and some speeches. And then eventually they brought in different elements, more speeches. They've had a long relationship. I have much love for the Morrismen, by the way, but like with Peter Liebert coming in and helping to bring in that element of dance and tradition that way, because he brought in if you ever see the guys with the horns, the Abbots Bromley,
and Mr. Kitchen.
Mr. Kitchen, yeah, all that, dressed in his outfit. But then they added things on over time. And eventually a plot began out of it, and it just became a really big deal. I mean, I think that's what it was, right, Andrew? What would you say?
I agree with all of that.
But it's an original show, right? With an original script. And was it Anne that wrote the script for years? Am I wrong on this? Is all stuff that's just been passed down.
Yeah, Ann Utter wrote Twelfth Night and produced it really for the chorus up until she passed, which was I think 2006, 2000. That was one of her last shows. Forgive me for not remembering the actual year. And then after that, her very last show, Harvey Blanchett helped her finish it. And then Harvey took over the duties for sort of the final 9 or 10 12th nights. I can't remember how many that Harvey wrote specifically, but he took over for Anne. And Harvey, I think, has a creative writing degree from Ithaca, so it made some sense for him to do that. But he'd also been in the show essentially since birth, so he knew it inside and out. So really, much like the chorus, only had 2 music directors. We only had 2 playwrights, if you will, for the show. But it was original every year. There were certain core elements that were the same every year. And that was sort of what we would call the court scene and sort of and Father Christmas's Farewell, and really a really glorified curtain call at the end where we would sing the Boar's Head Carol. But beyond that, everything else inside of it was originally created each year, and it was beautifully created by all the different departments, from the costumes to the lighting to the stage management, and even the folks who kept us fed downstairs. I mean, the number of meals that we've all received down there, especially from Pam Young and Deb Dunham, they kept it. I used to equate it to when we had 12th night, when Lee Eastbourne and I in particular were there all of the time, and we used to joke it was like working at Google, because they have a cafeteria there and they don't ever want you to leave. You can never leave, so as long as we keep feeding you, you'll never leave. But it was
best time of every year.
Yeah, the building always smelled great.
Chris, that was the first thing you filmed. Being an outsider from the chorus of Westerly, what was it like going into the chorus hall and bringing the cameras and seeing this, New York, London level production in the middle of Westerly?
It was incredible. I had seen the show a few times before that, so I kind of knew what to expect. But what I didn't know what to expect.
Your dad was in it.
That's right.
That's right. He was in it a couple of times. Say
the line, Ryan.
The voice of the tenderloin. Yes. I was in many scenes with him. I was often the tree, the guy who held the tree, but I was the tree usually laughing, shaking from behind.
No, but it was amazing, and I was blown away by something I wasn't expecting the day that I went to film it. Was what happened before the show, when Ryan got everybody together, and it was the last time he got everybody together. Something that, again, talking about the traditions that you guys have done throughout the years. So I wasn't even sure, and Caswell said, "You got to go downstairs and shoot this." What do you? I'm up here. I'm ready to shoot up here. What do you mean downstairs? We go running downstairs, and I had I think Mike Murray, my other cameraman, with me, and wasn't really sure it was going to happen. Said they're going to do a little warm up thing, and you guys sang, what was it, Hallelujah?
Hallelujah chorus. Yep.
Yeah, and it was. I was sitting in the middle of it, like I wasn't prepared for it to happen, and all around me, everyone was downstairs. Where was that? Where were we? We were in we're
in the rehearsal room downstairs.
The rehearsal room.
Yep.
And they just started singing that, and I was like, what is happening? I was in the middle of it all. They're singing all around me, and it was just like heaven. It was heaven. And it was kind of touching too, because there was some tears, and because it was the last time. And I think Andrew got a little teary-eyed too.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got emotional watching that this morning. So
that's the point of the film, man.
Exactly. We have a couple minutes left, and I would be remiss if we did not talk about one of the biggest events of the year, as Ryan says, one of the most important events of the year. I truly believe that in Westerly every single year. Take a look at the origins of the Summer Pops.
I thought, we can do something a little unique in Westerly. We could do a Pops concert on the post office steps, which is where we started. And yet I could involve the chorus as well. So it became a large community event. I think we gave 2 concerts there, maybe 3, but 2. I know I was scared out of my gourd on one of them because we had that enormous flood. And the buildings on the edge of the river were not, and I was worried that the cannon fire in the 1812 overture might, because in the previous year I had seen Woodmansey's plate glass window buckle when the cannons went off. So let's hope we get through this. And we did. But it also meant shutting down U.S. Route 1. That's not too easy, particularly in the summer.
Well, it became clear by 1983, by the third one, that it was becoming a public safety issue if they were going to continue this. So the chorus approached the Westerly Public Library about using Wilcox Park, and it moved into the park, and then suddenly almost a perfect formula was found, and it subsequently has just continued year after year.
Caswell, is that your only cameo in the movie?
There's 2. There's that one that was filmed by Bob Barber from 1992, I think, or 3. And I think Ryan's down in front of me.
I am.
In the tenor section. Bob Anthony's with us up there. And then there was another little segment in 12th Night that I snuck myself in.
Awesome. So, Summer Pops, most beloved event of the year in Westerly every single year. Obviously, was not able to happen this year, but let's talk about the celebration of the history of it, and when we come back after this pandemic, what goes into the Summer Pops, and what's the history of it?
From that clip you showed, this is what I was talking about digging into the history. So I was there when that concert happened. I was like 7, I think. And I remember sitting in downtown with my mom and dad and watching it, not really knowing what exactly it was. But we went to the library and we looked up we knew the date of the first Summer Pop. So we found the film of the picture of Dixon Square from the first Pops, but we had no other photographic evidence of that. So we somehow lucked out by getting Senator Algier, who has all the Westerly Sun records, in the old town hall, and he pulls out this thing of negatives, and we went and developed them up at Granite Photo, and it was like all those pictures you saw, there they were. They had never seen the light of day, and I'm like, there's the visual evidence that Chris always talks about. And, we were able to tell the story. And then I'm like, well, and then there's really no video of Summer Pops. So
he mentions Woodmansey's.
Go ahead.
Woodmansey's windows just about ready to buckle right there and then.
The story, the way he told it, wouldn't make sense without the visual evidence, because who knows what Woodmansey's is if you're not from Westerly, And so that was part of the fun thing about the history thing, because it's before the 3 of us were involved in any of this, before they were before Andrew was born. What year were you born, Andrew?
82.
Right. See, so it was actually the year before you were born. So it's hard for us. We can tell the history of it, but we weren't really there. So to get that visual evidence was pretty cool and pretty fun.
Yeah. Ryan and Andrew, what do the Summer Pops mean to you guys personally and to the chorus?
You go ahead, Ryan.
Me?
Yeah.
It means a lot. And not getting a chance to do it this year is really painful. And it means a lot to us. And I peek quick at some of the comments. I wish we could do it at the drive-in, but unfortunately, we need an 80 by 60-foot stage and 180 singers and a 70-piece orchestra. So it's a big deal. It is the biggest thing that we do. It is the most stressful event that we run because of the nature of running a concert like that. And again, we're the only community chorus that does an event like this in the country. Some orchestras do it, and some towns and cities do it, but the chorus that produces it. But the thing is about it, it's the most magical evening we do. It is the night where we can fulfill our mission to the greatest extent. And our mission is to nourish, is to harness the power of music to transform lives and nourish the soul of the community. If there's a better night and a better way to do that than Summer Pops, I don't know how. But it's become this birthright for us in town. Even if you're not there for the music, even if they're just to have a picnic, watch some fireworks, and see your friends. I mean, it's been a night we all get together with our friends from all over, and it's just such a wonderful, special evening. And to me, I was there at the early days too, because I was born in the 70s.
Barely.
But I was in a stroller early on, but I was around. To me, the Pops it represents all that is good about our greater community, and nothing brings us, frankly, as singers, as much joy as getting up on that stage, or singers or executive directors and looking out at that sea of humanity out there, and realizing how special of a place, Westerly, Pawcatuck, Stonington, our whole area is, and how wonderful these people are, because all that money we have to raise, because every year I get up there and I tell them, you need to help us, donate money. We raise it every year, and we couldn't do it without it. So I can't tell you how hard it's been not to have camp, but also not to have Summer Pops in particular, because we just love giving it back. It is our gift back. So this year we kind of look at this whole film as sort of our gift back to the community in lieu of being able to perform for you live.
And I have to say, I was a bit disappointed the first time I shot the Summer Pops when Andrew went up on stage. I think it was for the first time. The year that we shot, was that the first or your second one?
No, I think that was the second.
It was the second. Oh, okay. I prepared to get like a terrifying shot of you walking on stage, and I thought you were going to be scared out of your mind. And like a second before you went, how do you feel? Fine, no problem. And then you walk up on stage. We had one of our cameramen follow him up on stage, and we came right to where his perspective was, and all you could see was thousands and thousands of people real deep. And he didn't blink an eye. He just went on with the show like nothing was going on, and it was beautiful.
You really don't have an option in my line of work. You just have to do it.
I
was terrified for you, to be honest with you, but no problem.
But don't you think, Andrew, because this is how I feel up there, when we're in our performance hall, the audience is right in our face. You can see people's reactions. When you're up there and that giant crowd is out there, you can't really zone in on people. There's always a buzz. So it's almost like when you're in the hall, everything is much more personal. In the park, it's just sort of like right now. Who knows who's watching us on the internet right now? But hello, internet. And there could be many, many more people. But in the hall, boy, when you turn around and you face the audience in the George Kent Performance Hall, and they're right there. Usually to my left, if I'm doing the curtain speech, is George Parent. And if they're not smiling at you, you're doing poorly. And Pops, they're far away. Right? Am I right, Andrew?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an incredible. I can't believe the Pops is one of them. I have seen the Pops more than anything that the chorus has done, and it's incredible every single year, and I can't wait for that to be back. So, first of all, I just want to say to round out things with the movie, thank you to Ryan and Andrew for allowing this to happen and all of the work that went on to make that happen on the production side, and the board of directors for the Chorus of Westerly and everybody. And thank you to Caswell and Chris for taking the time and the effort to make this movie, to document this thing that, as Pam would be able to tell us the exact numbers, like 2,500 people, have come through the ranks, and this is their story. And not only is it their story, but it's the story of everybody who around those 2,500 people who go to the concerts and know and love the chorus and have gotten so much out of it for the last 61 years. So I just want to thank all four of you and everybody else behind the scenes that made this happen and that worked so hard to make the chorus happen every single year, because it is truly a treasure for this town, and something that, as you start off the film by saying, something that is so unique. And it's difficult for a big city like New York to have something this special, and we have it here, and that is a testament to you guys and to everybody who came before. So thank you very much from me on behalf of our entire community. What now and what next
In terms of the show,
With the film?
for the chorus?
That's their question.
Yep.
Andrew?
Well, right now is obviously we're still kind of trying to figure out what now is. We won't be able to perform and do the things that we typically do, as in bringing people together and making music in our little community. But we will be very active over this coming season. We've got really substantial plans for the fall to keep our singers engaged at all various levels. Ways to move everybody forward with their musicianship and come back even stronger than we were when everything shut down, so that we can hit the ground running and move right on with our lives and continue to bring beautiful music to our community and do all of the things that we've been doing for 61 years now. So we're just about to start this whole new era that hopefully won't last that long, and we can go back to what it is that we set out to do in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think in the meantime, Dr. Saunders is working on the vaccine.
Yeah, that's right. So we're going to be active this fall, and we are going to be doing, we are finding ways to do some musical activities with all of our singers. And we just released to all our whole membership how that's going to work. But if people are still interested in, getting involved with the chorus and hearing about what we're doing, if they're interested in being a singer, the work we're going to do this fall will be different. But we're not going away, and we're planning on coming back. When we do come back, we're planning on coming back with a roar. As I keep saying, the intro is like, we're going to dream as big as we've ever dreamt now, and try to do that. And so in many ways, what's going to happen the fall for our musical training, if you will, is, if we were in sports, because I love to bring everything back to baseball, this is extended spring training for us. But we're really going to get working on it. And we're going to make sure we have a lot of stuff that you can embrace in this new virtual media, that people in the public can be a part of it too. So we're not going away. It's going to be different, but we're all going to rise to sing again. I promise you that.
How can people see this movie?
Well, they can come see it here at the Drive-In on Sunday night at 8 o'clock, 316 Atlantic Avenue, next to the water slides. The tickets are free. They're online. You can go to the chorus's website or mbadrivein.com, choruswesterly.org, and just click your free ticket. Now, you only need one ticket for a carload of people, so don't take like 4 tickets if you only need one car. And come on down. We've sold or we've given away about 110 tickets. We only have 30 more. So if you'd like to come, grab one.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
If you can't come out to the premiere on Sunday, we are going to then release it on the internet in a worldwide premiere on YouTube on Sunday, October 4th. And we'll send details out about that. But then it'll be available for you to stream in the comforts at home on your high-definition television, where we'll look even better.
Awesome. Anybody have any final words before we say goodnight?
Thank you for doing this.
No, thank you, Ben, for doing it.
Thanks, Ben.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We appreciate everything that you do. All right, guys, so check it out. There's 30 tickets left, 30 cars. That's 30 cars left. So you can get those tickets at chorusofwesterly.org or MBA. Hey, I hit a random ticker, and it happened to be the right one, so that was good.
That's hilarious. I drive by there all the time and see that other Misquamicut tourist booth.
So you can get it at either of those places. Thank you guys so much. The film is amazing. I'm one of the only people apparently that have seen it. I appreciate it so much. The four of you are amazing, and this film is incredible and such a testament to the legacy of the 200 plus voice chorus of Westerly. So thank you guys so much. And we'll see you on Sunday at the drive-in.
Thank you, Ben.
Take care.
Bye-bye.